So that's how it looks like. I think if I hide, you kind of can open and hide the insights. And you have jobs to be done, you have ease of use, then you have pain points. Yeah, different pain points, opportunities, all of that is here, which is also, accessible tool for everyone.
Customer end-to-end journeys I've seen are usually like JPEGs, like they're just images or they're just PDFs. But your team actually created this whole interactive prototype journey map in Figma. Why did you put in so much effort to create this in Figma and not just keep it static, a PDF or something?
It's a good question. I think that we, of course, had different, more static variations, especially in Dex. But because our product evolves actually pretty fast and we cannot just keep it in static mode because it would be a lot of different links. This one is interactive and updated on every quarter because we also do new research, we find new opportunities, new behaviors and things like that. So that's why it cannot be static.
My favorite part was that it shows when it was last updated. Because a lot of times when I've seen journey maps, there's no information on when it was last updated. Hey folks, welcome to Sneak Peek. And today with me, I have a very unique guest. Usually I interview designers, but today I have a top researcher, Sofia, who is gonna share with us the research process that she and the team have created at Delivery Hero. We're not only gonna cover her research process, but she's also going to show us how she uses the research tool Listener to test the Figma prototypes her design team has created. Then she's also going to show us how she uses FigJam to process huge amounts of research data and how to turn that into actionable insights. So this is going to be super packed one. Sofia, welcome to Sneak Peek.
Thank you so much. Super excited to be here and to share all about what you mentioned.
Oh yeah, I love this. I love this UX research intro, this slide deck going on. Quick question. Who is this deck for? Like what's the purpose of this deck?
So this purpose of the deck is, of course, for our meetings with stakeholders, cross-functional stakeholders across the teams that we have. It can be product managers, product designers, engineering, leadership, any type of people. And usually when they join, we have some introductions, especially based on our team structure. Some of us researchers are embedded on the domain level. So when we have any new joiner, it's our role to initiate some first conversation about UX research role in the organization, what are materials we have, how do we work, and some highlights about importance of the research and our processes, basically.
Oh, wow. Like, let's say a new engineering manager is joining the team or a new VP of product has joined the company. Then you literally just share this deck with them on how they can work best with research.
Yeah, it depends on the level. I think managers would mostly share it with leadership. For me, it would be more individual contributors who I would share it.
Okay. How big is this deck? I'm actually curious. Is it like a lot of pages?
It's till appendix is 25.
Okay. I wanted to see the slide about the research process. Like, what do you have under that slide?
So yeah, basically we talk about how our team organized, what is our role. Then we talk about basically how our role is to understand user needs and motivations, to help teams ideate and be a user voice in decision-making and different type of decision-making across the organization. So we also onboard our new joiners to this product development cycle because usually we all know this type of product development cycle and we find it important to show that UX research can be present through the whole cycle. And we are present through the whole, but the type of research that we do and that we promote to do would be different. So that's the main, I would say, differentiation, that in the problem space, more in discovery, strategic phase, it would be generative research when we learn more about user needs, mental models, what is important, what are their problems, how do they approach different services in their life and things like that. So then we can ideate based on that knowledge and respond to those needs and pain points within the solution space. And this is, of course, all collaborative work, but from the research point of view, we are gonna prioritize here evaluative research, which would be already evaluating some type of idea or solution, which is mostly some design related. So sometimes it can be some other concept, but mostly because we are part of UX team, it would be some prototype or design solution. some feature maybe, or different visuals that we would also evaluate to see if it actually a good idea, is it actually responding to user needs, do they understand it, and we also measure its usability basically. And then the cycle repeats because there can be also post-assessment when something is launched. We can still proceed with evaluative research and then learn again from the new reality. How do we respond in the future for future needs and how do we improve it constantly?
So I got a bunch of questions that I'm going to throw at you. These are questions that folks that have sent me. One of the questions is like, how big is your UX research team? Is the team remote or is it hybrid?
Our team, so we are part of UX team as a whole, where we have designers and research insights and UX operations. Research team, we have 7 researchers, 2 managers and 1 director of research and insights. And we work super closely with designers and especially with operations. They're like our life-saving colleagues. Yeah, we are part of Delivery Hero, but it's an umbrella company, so we have different brands and entities. For us, it is 3 brands cross markets, so it's mostly in APAC, in Asia, in Europe, and in Turkey. And we are also located mostly in Berlin, but also few colleagues in Singapore. And that's why I don't know if that's why, but in general, we work hybrid. So it's not that we go to the office every day, but we have some days, obligatory days, 2 days per week that we need to go. And that's where we meet more often.
Who's the director of research?
It's Vanessa.
Vanessa, if you're watching this, thank you so much for, making this happen. So just wanted to give a shout out to Vanessa and Ashwin as well, both of them.
Yeah, they're really good.
Now, if I'm a designer working at Delivery Hero and I have a project that needs research done, right? How do I request, Sofia, you to conduct research for me? Like, what is that process like?
So it's a good question. First of all, there are different ways. Overall, how we are organized, because researchers are point of contact for some teams. So we more or less have regular things with our team members. That's why we have like constant communication. And I think that it depends on the designer as well. Sometimes they already worked with us, so they just reach out and we discuss with the initial call. Sometimes they go straight forward to our program that we have for designers to be owners of evaluative research. So basically, first of all, it's constant communication, so it doesn't happen completely in isolation. And we are like super accessible, I would say, especially for designers. But we also have really, I think, a really cool program, because of course, one of our goal is to make research more accessible, especially for designers who can have a lot of ideas all the time. And sometimes the scope is pretty straightforward and small, and they should be able to do it independently, but still with a good quality to evaluate their designs. And that's why we actually have a program that we call Design Experimentation Framework. And for that, when it is evaluative research, which is a smaller scope, we proceed with that program. But if designers are not sure, of course, they just reach out to us. We have conversation about the context of the problem, of the project, and so on. And I'm happy to share with you how this program looks like.
I want to see what is provided in that program. And just one question for folks watching that do not know what is evaluative research. Can we, in layman terms, say that evaluative research maybe is like when a designer already has some prototypes that they just want to test and they already are designing for a specific feature or a specific solution?
Yes, exactly. You summarized it well. It's an end of product development cycle when we have already some prototype ideas to test and to validate some hypotheses or sometimes different design variations, copies, visuals, things like that. Also can be something which is already live and we want to evaluate how it's performing. So it's end of product development cycle. When we already have solution, we want to know how it performs, how usable it is. So the main goal here is usability. Basically, it's called Design Experimentation Framework, as I mentioned. And what is super interesting about that it's embedded into the design systems that we have in our entity. And it's part of Figma. So basically, designers can access this from Figma directly. Also, we have a tool which is Bentomizer. So even from their file, they can access this program. This is what is accessible from your working Figma file with that tool. You just, if you know that you want to evaluate something, you go to this page, and here you can see different type of things. So first one is decision tree, and it's very start of the process because we want to understand if this type of questions that designer can have about their designs is part of this program, so they can conduct it themselves independently using all of those materials, or it's something that they need to reach out to the team, and it's some bigger scope project where they need support of research team.
But this is mind-blowing. So the research team literally created this Figma prototype that all the designers can go and get all the answers like that. This is mind-blowing. Like you all just created a prototype here with all the answers.
Yeah, I mean, we collaborate with designers. We propose the content, the approach, and of course, designers helped us to create the prototype itself. But because it's going to be useful for them, right? Because they can use it and they can understand what type of test they need.
So, okay, I'm mind blown right now. Okay. I think I get it now. If I am a designer working with you and I want research to get involved and I'm not sure, so I go to this prototype and I answer these questions first.
Yes.
So can we answer it now? Are you introducing a completely new feature? I'm improving an existing one.
Okay, let's do it. Let's try. Also, there are a lot of examples, as you can see. What do you want to learn?
Yes, I want to assess how or if users understand design or concept.
If your goal aligned with the examples and scenarios below. Understanding design clarity, if a component is clear to users, do they find any parts of design confusing? Okay. So for clarity here, it suggests to go to research team. We can start again to see for what would be the improving existing one, if users can achieve, if the right information is memorable or visible, or determine which designs user prefer, findable, visibility. So assessing command visibility, evaluating findability. Yes. And then it shows first click test. So in this case, because it's a less broad scope, it's not completely understanding of the whole feature, the use cases of it, but it's basically, it was visibility, I think, or findability of that. And in that case, it recommends first click test. And then there's method overview. So there's this page about methodologies that also can be helpful to understand what is objective of particular one and how it works. What is good, we also have here examples of previous usability tests with this methodology and previews and decks, so it is easier to get inspiration. This is how it works. But also this process still involves, it's not completely that we give it to designers and just use this tool, it's just a starting point, just for visibility, what are the possibilities, what type of questions we have, so it's easier to scope for them. But still, part of the process would be to have initial checkpoint with UX research. But in that case, the checkpoint will be shorter. It will be more scoped because designers can do a lot of preparation by themselves with all those materials. And then still they will help, researchers will help to see if there are some biases, if there's some additional insights that we already have about this topic that maybe will solve this question and we don't even need to do any usability study. Or they will see maybe that the scope is too broad actually and the particular methodology is not very applicable. Then they will propose another type of methodology and approach. So research is still involved, but in the initial checkpoint, just to agree that this is a correct way to proceed. And then before launching, because we are taking care of recruitment, so we help them with target audiences and things like that, and with analysis. This is optional, but we are also available to review and help with the analysis.
The resources that you said that provided, obviously there's the prototype that tells me which methodology I need to use. But how do I know how to frame the questions? Do I just frame the questions and then send them to you for review? Like, hey, these are the questions I'm planning to ask the users?
I think that first of all, this decision tree that we just reviewed should be helpful because there are a lot of examples of type of questions that you can have. And also there is there's also a checklist with all of the materials, how to start. And actually, this is the first step would be to complete this template. And this template is also helping you to structure all of your thoughts for the usability tests that we have. And this is also, I think, very helpful. So for every evaluative study, for any study, but for evaluative, we have this particular template, which is a deck template. And so designer should think about what is the user problem or some current knowledge that we know already or assumptions. Also, it's very important to already map what are the business goals of this particular scope or design, what are the metrics that we can measure with this type of study. It can be some usability metrics, can be some CVR, and both can be mentioned. So it's easier for everyone to understand what we are going to do with this test. Then after all of the background, it's important to put research questions. And as I mentioned, in decision tree, I think it's mentioned some examples. It can be if some feature is clear or understandable or confusing, or it's findability or visibility or provenance. And it depends all the time on so sometimes it depends on the current knowledge that we already have, and also just on our expertise of designers' expertise and research expertise, what we think are the risks of this particular feature design or whatever for end user. If there are risks that we see, we put it into the hypothesis. So we assume that this variation is not performing well because of that, and that. Or we assume this variation can be disruptive. So if we see that there are actual risks that want to assess, we put it here, and that's how we scope the project. Because afterwards we put the type of, basically we put the study design, and we all the time refer, does it answer those questions? Are we covering those hypotheses? I think what is also important at the beginning, designers basically can put whatever comes to their mind, because then the scope can be maybe too broad, and we need to define what we can answer with this type of study and what we cannot. It can be out of scope. So sometimes what we do different stages of the project. So we see this as the first priority is for now to make a decision with product. So let's just focus on this hypothesis and not on others. But others we can assess in the future for future iterations. So I would say this scoping stage is very important in the beginning. First can be anything that comes to your mind. Also good to actually discuss already with your product team, with product managers, engineers. Maybe they also have some assumptions. Putting it here, seeing if it's reasonable, if it fits the methodology of evaluative study, and if the scope is pretty small for this evaluative study, because we cannot assess too many, because this evaluative research usability test, it will be unmoderated within this project. So it's not that we are gonna do interviews or something long and big. It's gonna be unmoderated test using listener. And that's why we need to be careful to define the scope. What is we can achieve, what we cannot, what are the limitations also. And this is why initial checkpoint with designers also is very helpful at this stage.
This is super helpful. So the designers have to fill out this research deck or protocol, I'm calling it. It's mandatory. And then if you go back to the steps that you showed in that Figma prototype, like these are the different steps they have to go through. I'm just curious to know, what are the different steps? Okay, so this is the checklist. We have the clear goals. Oh, wow. So it's like literally guiding them. And for each of this checklist, they have like a link or something that they need to do.
Yeah, so for example, first is this template, put everything that you already know about the project, then decision tree, helping to define the method for you. Then when the method is defined, you can see how to actually launch this in Lusna. Then there is researcher help. So reach out to researcher to have this review, first initial review. And then, so it's step-by-step process, I would say.
Okay. Oh, wow. This is super helpful. Oh my God. This is mind-blowing.
Yeah, I think that it is very helpful. And again, there's a lot of materials and examples that are already present, so designers don't need to learn from scratch, but it can be a starting point. And then there's still research support, but minimized, so the process can be faster, because it's evaluative research, especially when it's small scope, when it's within this program. Usually one of the conditions that we want to know something fast, because there may be some different variations that we want to choose the best one for users, or we want to evaluate some hypotheses that we have before going to experiment. And yeah, this is the limitation. Scope is small, and decision making should be faster than usual. And that's why we give more ownership to designers in this case, because it's also pretty, I think, important for them also to be experts in this type of usability tests to make their decision.
Okay. So I've got a question, Sofia. Where does all the research that your team does live? Like, where's the research repository at Delivery Hero? Can you share more light on that?
Yeah, sure. So actually we have different experience with different tools for research inventory and repository. We tried different methods and tools of collecting it, but so far not everything was successful, because some more complicated tools which are specifically for research repository were a bit hard to onboard, and it was mostly useful only for researchers, not for the rest of the team, but we wanted to make the knowledge more accessible for the rest as well. And we actually, I think, found great ways for that. So there are different ways to access the knowledge that we have. So some are pretty basic. We have open calendar with daily events. So in that event, any person from Delivery Hero can access interviews that are live, all the time live streamed, or research presentations. So we also mark like research presentations, the topic and description. Then, of course, we have channel for all of our sharings of new insights that we get and some discussions. Besides that, we have more straightforward research inventory, which is basically a document where it's all organized based on particular topics, attributes of the research, methods, domains, things like that. Project folder, which is basic. What is, I think, not that basic, but new and that we found a lot of value in recently is research bot. So we actually have this ChatGPT-like bot for accessing any research insights, and it works with Slack. So in Slack, we have embedded this, it's called like a research bot, that you ask a question, any question, and it answers you within minutes with a summary on your question and with the links of research projects regarding that question. Of course, sometimes it works well, sometimes not. We also, when it's asked in public channel, we sometimes add additional thoughts on particular topics or questions from research side. But mostly it works well, and it's very helpful to summarize, because we have a huge amount of research done for different, and especially when you switch the team and things like that. Even we researchers use the bot, other people use the bot, leadership, designers, PMs. It's really great.
And question, for the research inventory or project details, any of these links, without going into the research, can you even show them from outside what they look like? Like if you click on them and it shows something?
Yeah, it's just a list of, maybe if you go to 2020, it's a topic ones, country, methodology and things like that, with the links to the drive and documentation.
Wow.
So
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's for every year. That's how it looks like. Another one is just a project folder where you see a list of folders with projects which are collected there. Then we have research priorities, which is actually, I also can share a little bit maybe when we talk about how we prioritize studies, but it would look like this, but filled with different priorities for a particular quarter or two. How we use prioritization framework, it's not related to evaluative studies, but when we learn from conversations with the team within the quarter, some particular topics, knowledge gaps, questions, we know some might go soon more prominent. We know that something is going to happen. Here we know that it's going to happen, so we want to understand, do we want to do research about that? Do we have enough knowledge, confidence for going to that direction, or we need some guidance? And in that, from that conversations, we put different topics here. It can be very draft, just a product name, like some feature or idea then the summary, and we need to think already what would be the impact that we can influence, what is the decision can be informed, and then we define our status and business priorities and scope. And when we have it during the quarter field, end of the quarter, we have a large list after conversations that happening on different levels. Managers would have their conversations, individual contributors their conversations. We put everything here, and then there is a process of prioritization because we cannot do everything. Sometimes it's too much. And we basically review it within the team. Then leadership also reviews it within their own timeline. And we define what are the projects that are going to be prioritized, which are bigger projects, mostly not evaluative studies, but mostly generative discovery studies, and sometimes mostly moderated or quantitative approach. So that's how this document is going to be helpful for that prioritization and for capacity planning in general for researchers also.
Wow. I love this.
But another thing that I think also is really great for accessing research insights that we have is those materials that are also in Figma, and they're interactive, like websites. It's purple print. It's kind of like blueprint of our service, but of user insights. So we just illustrate the user journey, all of pain points, behaviors, all of the insights categorized very well, illustrated with pictures. So it's...
Can you show that? Can you show that journey end-to-end one?
Yeah, so that's how it looks like. I think if I hide, you kind of can open and hide the insights. And you have jobs to be done, you have ease of use, then you have pain points. Yeah, different pain points, opportunities, all of that is here, which is also, accessible tool for everyone. It's updated on quarterly basis, I think. And
this is amazing.
Yeah, that's another interactive way where we put everything, and segmentation playbook where it's more about segments or user.
But I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
If you just go back to that journey map, like most research, like customer end-to-end journeys I've seen are usually like JPEGs, like they're just images or they're just PDFs. But your team actually created this whole interactive prototype journey map in Figma. Why did you put in so much effort to create this in Figma and not just keep it static, a PDF or something?
It's a good question. I think that we, of course, had different, more static variations, especially in DEX. But because our product evolves actually pretty fast, and we cannot just keep it in static mode because it would be a lot of different links. This one is interactive and updated on every quarter because we also do new research. We find new opportunities, new behaviors and things like that. So that's why it cannot be static. It's not the long-term solution for static user journey for us. And also one of the goals of it was to make it accessible and pretty high level based on your domain, because people change teams also pretty often, not like often, but it happens, right? And you can just go here and have a very fast overview of your particular scope, what you have from research point of view.
But this can also be used for onboarding. Like if a new product manager joins, they can look at this entire journey map end to end and understand where their product fits in.
Yes, exactly. Also for new joiners, for new team members in the team, for just like refreshing your memory, what we know about users, because some new topics come up and we can check. Sometimes it's also helpful to see that we don't know much about this topic. We can open it and we can see actually for this review or other stage, we don't have that much of insight. That's why we identify knowledge gap, and that's why we need to learn about that stage. So it also helps like identify knowledge gaps or just to learn what we already know for your particular scope, projects and things like that for the background.
My favorite part was that it shows when it was last updated. Because a lot of times when I've seen journey maps, there's no information on when it was last updated.
Yes, it's true. We have incredible UX operations team, and they're actually owners of these tools. So they take care of UX team to be familiar with insights of research, and so for their decision-making process as well. Yeah, so it's not like researchers build, prototypes and work on that. We work on research, and UX operations, they take care of all of these materials being accessible and interactive and visible also for other teams.
Thank you so much, Sofia, for sharing with us the UX research process at Delivery Hero.
You're welcome. I'm happy to share.
Hey, this is Jay. It means the world to me that you watched this video. If you want to unlock the AI design and growth design interviews with designers at some of the top companies in the world, then head on over to sneakpeek.design and subscribe to the newsletter.